Today, we're talking to some of the biggest brains in Michigan about the economy. What is this K-shaped recovery going to mean to you? Stick with me. I'm Lisa Ellen Smith, and this is Focus on Business.
Hi, I'm Sarah Miller, Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communications for the Small Business Association of Michigan. And SBAM is here and ready to help you become small business certified. So what does that mean? That means that you can get additional credentials and the certification that will set yourself apart from competition. If your business has fewer than 500 employees and annual revenues equal to or less than 25 million, you are eligible to be certified small by SBAM. Small businesses that become certified receive an additional layer of credibility and open the door for procurement opportunities that exist specifically for small businesses. Once you have the certification, SBAM is also here to help you gain visibility and access to these contracts. We host a special online directory of our certified small businesses, making it easy for those looking for your products and services to search and find out more about your business. You can learn about the application process and get started at www.sbam.org/certified.
Build a better marketing strategy with Inverve Marketing. The way we buy has changed. It's time to dream bigger. With digital marketing, you can build your business faster, measure and evaluate results. Let us help you find your marketing superpowers with inbound marketing, driven by strategy with inspired creativity. Why not put some verve in your brand? Market and grow better with Inverve Marketing.
I'd like to welcome our guest, Micah Babcock, Director of Government Operations for the Small Business Association of Michigan, and Leon Lebrecht, the Chief Growth Officer for Sequoia Financial. Leon is a regular contributor to Forbes, featured on Investment News, CNBC, and USA Today. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show. Leon, I'm so glad to have you here. You have a lot of knowledge about the economic forecast. I know that many small business owners is really happy to have 2020. It's over, good riddance. But let's just first take a look at what impacts do we know were created from this global pandemic.
Great to be here. And, I'd like to say hindsight is 2020. Boy, I'm glad to put 2020 in the hindsight right now. Foresight will be 2021. Hopefully I have a little bit better vision. But I see four things. It's almost like a Japanese horror movie. I see the Biden tax increases like Godzilla stomping down the streets of Lansing, coming down and crushing small businesses and large businesses alike. Maybe not. Maybe no Godzilla at all. Then I see Mothra flying in, and the price of lumber today on the futures market was $1,400 per 1,000 board feet. Hot rolled steel was $1,350 a ton. Prices we've never seen. So the second horseman of the apocalypse, or Mothra, is going to be this reflation argument, this reflation problem. And then the third big issue we've got is we put more money last year into the economy than inflation adjusted we did in all of World War II. In all of World War II, we spent $4 trillion. We have $5 trillion. And now we're in this perplexing situation where money is flowing everywhere. There's money all over the place. So we've got all this money. We've got lofty valuations. We've got inflation on the horizon. We've got tax increases on the horizon. What's a body to do? Scratch our heads and say, wow, 2021 might be as interesting as 2020 without masks. Holy smoke. So lots to talk about, lots for us to cover.
Well, Micah, can you give us, Micah, with the Small Business Association of Michigan, from your perspective, how has that impacted Michigan specifically?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having me today. I've been looking at the employment numbers, unemployment numbers specifically here in Michigan. And even though employment really has improved, we're still lagging behind the United States in unemployment rate and from pre-pandemic numbers there. So the job postings and recent consumer spending indicators due to these increased federal stimulus and consumer savings, they really show that the recovery is positive, but it's slowing here. And this recovery has really specifically been uneven for those smaller businesses. And small businesses have really experienced more severe government regulations than larger businesses. You're thinking of restaurants, bars, bowling centers, banquet centers really have been forced to be closed. So really big impacts on Michigan's small business community. And the open small business metrics are far behind pre-pandemic numbers. And while this is true, obviously nationwide, Michigan even lags the United States metrics as well. And as of this February, the numbers of small businesses opening versus January 2020 decreased by 40%. And that was in tandem with the amount of revenue lost for Michigan small businesses as well. So really hitting Michigan small businesses hard.
It seems like there's two economies happening. We've got the economy that was decimated by the pandemic, by closures, by people not going out. Then we had a tremendous amount of businesses that did well or did okay, or actually even had a boon during the pandemic. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. So when we talk about a recession, there's a recession for some and there's not a recession for others. What is this recession right now? What does it mean? And is it ending? Is it going to end?
Yeah, so as you can see from the Q1 Amazon filings, they've had an expansive boom in this beginning of this past pandemic. And like I said, really detrimental to the small business industry as well. Rather than you going out to your retail shop on Main Street, you're buying most of your goods from Amazon. At least it tends to show that from the trends. But the recovery is less traditional than previous recessions, at least from what we've seen. And that's how we're kind of looking at specifically the pre-pandemic as another recession, comparing it to the two previous recessions that happened in early 2000 and early 2010. But looking at U versus V, what economists really have been comparing it to is a K model, as there's some industries, like you said, that are really bringing it to the next level and having extreme economic success, some slowing down and are gradually recovering right now, and then others that are just stopped dead in their tracks and might actually have to go out of business soon because their model just doesn't make sense anymore, especially as consumer trends begin to transition.
Micah is right. There's COVID beneficiaries and COVID victims. And so what we're seeing is, the Zooms and the Cloroxes and the exercise equipment manufacturers and the Amazons were the beneficiaries of COVID. And actually they're now facing potentially the second wave of recession because people are going to quit using them. I'm wondering how many people are going to go use their, $2,000 exercise bike or turn it into a clothes hanger like I did with mine. And at the same time, we've got victims that are being hit by it who are coming back. But who would have thought a year ago, I mean, Micah and Lisa, would you thought steel would be quadrupling, or that timber would be quadrupling, or that we'd be hoarding 2x4s? I mean, we're hoarding toilet paper. We should have been, hoarding 2x4s instead of toilet paper. So it's the K. I couldn't agree more on the Mike on the K shape. We've got some that are going to be the victims and some are going to be the beneficiaries, but it's going to switch again. Now what's going to happen, it's going to swap. And then our hometown restaurants are going to be completely busy. Yes, I can't wait. No more DoorDash. And I'll be able to go to the store. Yes, no more Amazon in the driveway. But at the same time, what's going to happen to oil and what's going to happen to steel and all those kinds of things are the questions we should be asking.
Yeah, and I mean, it just follows the recession trends as the past, right? You have that economic fallout, and then right after a huge economic boom, and that's what we're trying to get everybody prepared for here in Michigan. Once things start changing, there really is going to be an economic boom here in Michigan, and we need to be positioned well, and our policymakers need to make sure that we're positioned well in order to really capitalize on the future that we could have if they do have a great environment for small businesses and small business growth as well.
And I think I would argue that maybe we're not going to have that recession in some of those areas that saw that big boom. So there were a lot of businesses who figured out, now I know how to do business online. I'm going to stay online. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to hire people online. I'm going to have a workforce online. There are people in their homes that have said, now I know how to do a pickup without entering Target or the grocery store or the restaurant, and I'm going to continue to do that. And so there are those folks who maybe they have this boon, but they're going to do a level off because they like what has happened. They have adapted and they have found positive benefits from that. Certainly my business, digital marketing, a lot of folks said, I got to figure this out. I got to figure it out now. And now that they have, they're not going to go back to pieces of paper. They're going to continue on with their cloud computing and storage. So I think maybe there's a K, but then there's also just kind of a flattening out there on the upside. I hope it's good for everybody, and I am very much looking forward to the foodie scene coming back around.
There also is going to be many that are left in the dust, though, especially with these,
Sure.
which we talked about with the digitization, especially of the workforce. There's a lot of Michigan, in rural Michigan specifically, that doesn't even have access to broadband and high-speed broadband. So they're being left in the dust while the rest of the state is really being able to move to that next level. If you're a small business that doesn't even have the capability to be able to transition to an online e-commerce type platform, then you're really getting hurt right now.
Indeed, yeah. I want to turn the corner a little bit here, Micah, because I know that SBAM has been watching some metrics and doing some, what we would call research. It's called scorecard. Can you talk about this window of time and what you're studying and how that's coming out with such a bizarre 12 months behind us?
Yeah, so we track hundreds of metrics to make sure that see where we stack up next to other states. We really went into this scorecard process about 17 years ago to figure out how Michigan could be the top 10 state in attracting business owners and having growth for businesses here in Michigan specifically, rather than just fishing for the big whale, as many other states do. But the one thing that I've been looking at especially is the opening of new businesses, which has gone up dramatically in this past year, especially in the first month here of 2021. And I think that that's showing the future of the economic boom that's going to happen after the recession fades away. We are higher than the United States average on these new businesses. We're at 24%, while the current US average is at 18%. And that exactly shows that picture. And I think people and entrepreneurs are gearing up right now for the next step of after this pandemic starts slowing down and masks start going away and vaccinations start going up.
Just as a business owner, I mean, that's always my perspective. I'm doing this show because I think a lot of business owners don't have time to do the research and have the discussions they need to have. But as an owner, there's this idea of you've already scaled up one business, and so you know how to do that. And now you are seeing another business. So scaled up, second stage, second business. And I'm wondering how many of these new businesses are going to be people who already know how to do business, are going to say, now is the time to hop into that second pool. And I really hope that we see that. But I want to also give you, Leon, a chance to respond to the metrics and research that you're paying attention to and watching.
Boy, we're watching all kinds of things, but my biggest ones right now is I'm on the Fed Baseball Committee, so advisory committees, and I watch what's going on in terms of Fed speak. So I look at the Atlanta Fed and the New York Fed, both predicting a pretty robust U.S. recovery. The thing that's giving me a little trepidation is I'm looking at this ISM numbers, and the ISM numbers are right through the roof. The purchasing managers indexes are great. We have what seems to be fomenting a giant recovery in manufacturing and production that's starting to happen. And Micah's right. There's going to be restaurants that are going to be in real trouble, but there's going to be industries that are going to be taking off like crazy. And the problem I'm seeing is the supply chain disruption. I mean, think about the fact that Ford's cutting production by 50% because they can't get chips. I mean, it's just one of those things. So when you dig deeper, then you find out that a drought in Taiwan has to do with chip production, and that weather in Texas has to do with chip production. As you get into all this, we went through the perfect storm and we came out with potentially an almost, robust recovery. And I'm worried that maybe this quarter that we're going to see with a 9% GDP growth could get stalled for silly reasons like we can't get microchips or we can't get 2x4s. I mean, right now you can't get anything to make equipment. So you could have a business where your orders are ringing off the hook like that old, UPS commercial where somebody gets out there and puts their online on and it goes ding, 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 and then all of a sudden just goes kaboom. What happens? And it's, are we going to get a kaboom moment where we're trying to figure out how to solve success? $5 trillion is sitting in the economy. We've got fiscal policy, we've got monetary policy, we've got money, we've got PPP loans, all the things that we've talked about for the last year. And now we're sitting there, okay, let's go. And okay, well, we can't build a shed in the back because we don't need 2x4s, and we can't get any steel to make the washing machines, and we can't get any cobalt to make the lithium batteries. So I guess we're all back to where we were in the first place. That's what bothers me. Those are my metrics. I look at the big picture. How much electricity is there? How much oil is there? How much cobalt is there? How much steel is there? What's happening to the raw materials? And then Micah, what's happening to our labor? Everybody wants skilled labor. like you said, there's not a whole big a bunch of demand for unskilled labor, but there's demand for skilled labor, and we can't seem to find them.
We're lagging behind, just like you said, Leon, especially on restaurants and retail, of having new employees come in, and they've been dramatically hurt with the entire COVID-19 crisis and the culture shift with the labor market right now. We have a lot of businesses that call me just saying, hey, we love this new idea of increased capacity. I don't even think that we would be able to staff 100% capacity right now. And many businesses are just, changing generic store hours because they can't have somebody on 5 days a week. Maybe they're going to a 3-day work week. So there's going to be a lot of changes in the labor market as many individuals have actually left the labor market entirely.
And there are a lot of people in this supply chain that are involved in logistics. And I'm talking about truck drivers and bus drivers, people who move freight, trains and planes. There are people who are simply not interested in coming back to that job right now. It's a problem for many customers that I have. I'm seeing media companies reach out and say, we want you to advertise for job postings, because they know how difficult it is to hire right now in some of the most base positions, not just skilled labor. So how we touched a little bit on the Biden tax plan. How does this weigh into the mix for Michigan, and more specifically for small business?
So if I might jump on just a sec, I'll put my CPA hat on because I'm the head of the Michigan Association of CPA Special Task Force. It seems likely to me that we're going to have a corporate tax increase. And that's an obvious thing that's coming down the pike, 25%, 28%. I'm writing an article for Forbes right now, just says change a number and get $1 trillion. Go from change a 1 to an 8, and you get $1 trillion of tax revenue. But what we're not seeing is how that really affects small businesses. I mean, everyone's thinking, oh God, Amazon's going to go pay more tax. Yeah, no, it's okay. Let Amazon pay more tax. They got enough of my money. But at the same time, because the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act linked together pass-throughs and Cs, you're going to have to have a change in the QBI. You're going to have a change in your pass-through entities. So that the corporate tax increase is a tax increase on every business owner. All 680,000 or so that Micah represents in terms of the Small Business Association. There's maybe 30,000 C Corps in the state of Michigan and 700,000 pass-throughs, and we're all going to get affected by that. So that's a monster. And then we've got capital gains tax, putting the potential transfer taxes for business owners up to what I'm concluding to be 70 or 80%. We could see 70 or 80%. If I built my business, my grandfather started it, I inherited it from my father, and then I take it over on a carryover basis, means I pay capital gain tax and estate taxes. So this is a monstrous ramification. It is a Godzilla that we should all be paying attention to. And I know the SBAM and I know, the Michigan Chamber and the US Chamber are all lobbying for this to try to change it. It's putting it on the backs of business owners. And it sounds like it's putting it on the back of big business, but it's putting on the backs of all business. And that's the thing that bothers me, Lisa and Micah. That's what's got me up.
What is there a benchmark that they're actually saying? Because I hear it on the news. That we're going to raise taxes for big business. What does that mean? Do you know?
Well, theoretically, it means 100 million of revenue. But in actuality, if I change the Internal Revenue Code, because unfortunately I've read the darn thing, when you read it, 21% turning into 28% affects all businesses, and then pass-throughs are affected as well.
Thank you. Sorry, Micah, I interrupted you.
No, not a problem. I was just saying, kicking business while it's down, right? I mean, businesses are hurting everywhere, especially small businesses, and just tacking on to the price tag is not going to help anybody out.
Well, we have another 30 seconds. I'm interested in hearing final thoughts. What do you want to tell business owners and people who are leading businesses right now?
Buckle up. Inflation's coming. Taxes are coming. Gird your loins.
Gear up for the boom too, right? Make sure you have your staff ready. Make sure your internal systems are all set up and ready to go when people are ready for getting out and going back to business as normal.
More of that schizophrenic business climate. Gird your loins, get ready for the boom. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Katie, commercial insurance producer at Cedar River Insurance Agency. There are some steps you can take to improve the claims experience that you have when your business sustains a loss. First, have an adequate understanding of what your insurance policies cover. You're not expected to be the expert, and insurance documents are complex. There's plenty of exceptions, limitations, endorsements, etc. Still, take advantage of working with your agent and your insurance company so that you have a helpful understanding of the coverage that you do carry. For example, if you have a physical property insured, like an office building, a manufacturing facility, an auto garage, is that structure insured for the cost it would take to rebuild? Or is it covered for the actual cash value of the structure as it stands, depreciation included? Second, to the extent that you are safely able, it is your responsibility to mitigate and address loss as quickly as possible. For example, if a storm causes damage to your roof and you experience a leak, you are responsible to take reasonable measures to prevent further damage. This could be as rudimentary as securing a tarp over that leak until you have the damage addressed. Insurance companies can and do decline claims of damage that could have been prevented had a policy owner taken steps to mitigate. Third, have a thorough documentation of your property and contents. You'll most likely be asked to submit inventories and proof of loss to contents. If you can't prove that an item was damaged or stolen because there was no record of it existing in the first place, your insurance company is unlikely to include compensation for that item when it pays out a claim. And as always, working with your agent helps ensure a very smooth claims process.
Focus on Insurance, brought to you by Cedar River Insurance.
I'm attorney Richard Craig Krause. You know, there are multiple different legal entities that you need to consider when you start your business, when you expand your business, or when you acquire, purchase another business. And the reason being is each of these entities have particular unique features and characteristics that need to fit well within your circumstances and within your objectives. And these features and circumstances include ownership rights issues, issues relating to liability, and particularly also tax-related issues. Now, if you don't consider these particular entities and their respective benefits and burdens, if you will, you are going to run the risk of leaving money on the table. In other words, not optimizing what the law actually provides to you. And the purpose of today's talk is to speak about one particular type of entity that really is not part of the common exchange dialogue that people have, and it's referred to as a Section 1202C corporation. And the unique feature of this corporation is that the owners can later in time sell their shares in that corporation for upwards of $10 million and not have to pay federal income tax on that gain. And that's a very unique situation. It's referred to as a safe harbor, but you can translate this into very significant amounts of money. The capital gains alone at today's rate of 21 point, et cetera, percent, which is subject to change, of course, on a $10 million bill is worth $2.1 million. So this is not something that should be glossed over, and it needs to be taken into account, like I say, whenever there's an organic change in what you're doing in business. Now, the key is that if you don't have this type of information, you can't consider it. And if it isn't part of your general knowledge or general exchange and dialogue with others, you're going to remain in that vortex of the uninformed. But you can avoid that and talk to your tax attorney and go into your details and your goals. And if you'd like, just go to our website and schedule a consultation with us. We can take you through it. We're happy to do it. It doesn't matter where in the world that you are. You can be anywhere, and we can talk and help you. So go ahead, consider your needs, and if necessary, follow through. Thank you. I'm attorney Richard Craig Krause. That's Krause with an E.
Focus on Tax, brought to you by Krause, Bangs and Associates PC.
Build a better marketing strategy with Inverve Marketing. The way we buy has changed. It's time to dream bigger. With digital marketing, you can build your business faster, measure and evaluate results. Let us help you find your marketing superpowers with inbound marketing, driven by strategy with inspired creativity. Why not put some verve in your brand? Market and grow better with Inverve Marketing.
This is Denise Policello with Focus on Legal. If the pandemic taught us anything at all, it's that emergencies will happen. But they're so difficult to predict, of course. So what can you do from a legal perspective to make sure that if an emergency happens, it will have the least impact possible on your business? Well, first thing you should be doing is making sure that all of your contracts, vendor agreements, leases, service agreements, employment agreements are reviewed by a competent contractual or business attorney, preferably before they're signed, but in any event, at least an annual review to make sure that you're aware of your risk and what's in them. You want to review the force majeure provisions. Those are the provisions in contracts that suspend performance in the event of a particular emergency. And then also make sure that those contracts work for you and are flexible and give you options in the event of an emergency that may be more impactful for your industry or your type of company. Second thing you need to do is remember that sometimes the emergency is yours personally, and that if your world stops for a minute, your companies cannot. So you need to do some proactive business planning with a business attorney to make sure that you have company documents in place that allow the management and authorization of payments and management of the company in your absence. So you want to put a couple of key employees in place. You have those authorizations in place so your company has continuity of business. And then the third thing you need to do, of course, is get that emergency management plan in place and practice it once or twice a year with key employees. Make sure that they are ready to go. You'll notice a theme here of prevention, and notice that attorneys are not only more effective, but actually less expensive when they are used proactively. And if you're looking for somewhere to start as far as what to do to write an emergency management plan, go to the SBAM website. It's a fantastic resource.
Focus on Law, brought to you by Pocella and Associates, PLLC.
The executive producers of Focus on Business are looking for your stories. Stories from owners of established businesses that have come through amazing adversity, bucked the odds, found the next big thing. If you have a story, we want to hear from you. Go to our website and maybe we'll invite you onto the show.